Do you think it's necessary to provide free and compulsory primary education?
Yes, it is.
Why?
Primary education, first of all, is the basic education that we always have. And so I think, first of all, it needs to be free.
Yeah.
Being free is really necessary because there are a lot of people, especially back from where we are from in Africa, who don't have enough money to take their children through free education, through primary education. So it would be very nice if primary education is free. And also, so that whether it should be compulsory, I think it should be compulsory, because by the time you are starting primary education, you don't even know what you want. And so yes, it should be compulsory, because we all need the primary education. Even if you become something else, maybe not go through the normal education procedure, you still need to know how to read and write.
Yeah. Also because it's the most basic education that you need in order to come up in life or something like that. So you need the
primary education is like the foundation, because before you build a house, isn't it, you need a foundation? So that's a foundation where we have to, for us to build a house.
That's the starting point.
Yes.
So it should be free and compulsory as well. Okay, we are moving to the next one. It says, make secondary education in its different forms, including technical and vocational secondary education, generally available and accessible by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education.
It should be a part of the whole system, because some people are not good at the theoretical part of the education, right? So they can indulge in vocational, technical, try to improve their skills. I might not be good in biology, but I might be good in sewing. So I feel like they go hand in hand, the vocational and also the theoretical part of the secondary school education. So it should be there.
Okay, my question is, since primary school is the foundation, why is it that they why can't they introduce the vocational or the technical aspect from that side, like from the beginning, so that as a child you know that I want to be let's say I want to be
doctor.
Not doctor, it's like the technical. I want to use the technical and a plumber. As a child, from that start, you already know that I want to be this. So I'm learning towards that.
I don't want to sound cliche, right? But I feel like when you're a child, your brain is not that complex.
You can't make such decisions
like holding a sewing machine, taking, and we have like harmful objects, right? So I think we start from somewhere. We teach them maybe like not the practical,
we should let them know from a young age that there are lots of things to choose from. Just not the typical lawyer, doctor things
before they go into the main stuff.
I mean, Sharon wanted to be a plumber, but she didn't know what plumbering means.
I mean, exactly. All of us here had something we wanted
so
to
do. The primary should be the why, what, who is the plumber.
I think for primary education, the normal math, English, all these things, it should actually be there for everybody. But when you come to secondary education, when you understand some things by that time, then you can choose.
That's where
you want to become
your interests have been developed, and then you know this is good for me.
Because as a child, you want everything, like, okay.
I want to be a doctor.
You know what? Today you can say, I want to be a doctor. Tomorrow you say, I want to be an
Even in high school, we change our mind. Then we are still here. So primary school.
So you guys agree that the vocational and the technical thing should be introduced in the secondary school?
Definitely.
Okay. So let's move to the next one. It says, make higher education equally accessible on the basis of individual capacity by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education.
Read it again, please.
Okay. It's saying that make higher education equally accessible on the basis of individual capacity by every appropriate means, and in particular by the progressive introduction of free education. So
the basic introduction.
Academically, financially.
Okay, so for me, when I'll start with the equally accessible, that's why I'll stress also again on incorporating the vocational and the technical, because if you're saying equally accessible, somebody who is not good with the formal, the science, the medicine, and all that, when it's equally accessible, there's technical, there's vocational, we can all get something to do. If I am not good at that, I'm definitely good with my hands, with something. So if there's that opportunity, it's going to help the education.
For me, I just want to talk about the every appropriate means, in the sense that like exams and things to like test the capacity of the individual should not just be in one format. Like maybe we should introduce other formats like oral exams instead of just focusing on written exams. Also like practical aspects should be tested on and stuff like that. Yeah.
And I think that also free education is there, right? Yeah, free education, that's the basis. I think it's important because some of the people, they are not, like, they can be good in something, but they cannot afford to go into that education and pursue their So I feel like it's appropriate to bring up like free education so that people should be able to be given like equal opportunities to.
So this free education, does it go to both the poor and the rich, or only the
It's
poor?
supposed to be accessible to both poor and the rich.
I think it should be equally accessible.
Yeah, it
Equal
should be.
Because education is very important on
whether
an
the
overall
rich
scale.
or the
So it
poor,
should be
you have to
accessible
at least.
to the rich and also
If
to
the rich
poor.
decides they don't
Yeah.
want to take their child to the free education, you can take them
It's just the
elsewhere.
same
But
as government school.
Yeah.
See, government school, they are free education. Like from primary school to
Senior high
it's
school.
free education. Yeah. So it's a choice for
Yeah.
the rich people
Yeah, they
whether
don't
to
know
take
if
their
you're
kids
rich.
to
Yeah.
whether to take their kids to the
By the end of
government
the
school
day, it's
or
available for the both
for
sides.
everyone.
But
I
don't
have
you
a
think
question.
this is discrimination?
Exactly, because what if in the end, if I am rich and I am taking and I want free education for my child, that is limiting the education, the how do I put this? Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, they brought free education in secondary school in my country, and what it did was that it caused a lot of havoc because they brought it into the secondary system and they brought it into all the schools. So what happened was that everybody wants their child to have this free education, and then even the people who can afford it want it to be free now. And so now it makes the schools very congested. Okay, so we are saying that we want the free education, yes, overpopulated. We want the free education for both the rich and the poor, which means that the people who can afford it also would want to keep their monies and then just. Do you get my point?
I understand what she's trying to say. Like, for instance, this is free education, but you can afford it. Right, you can even afford it and afford for 2-3 people, but this money that the government is investing in this free education could have been used to do other things. Do you get? If it's equally accessible for both the poor and the rich people will take the advantage
of it.
of it because they have it.
Okay.
And now the money that they were supposed to, let's say, use it to finance their child's education would be kept by them. Meanwhile, the government could have used like that money to do other things.
Oh, I don't think so, because if you use the word discrimination, at the end of the day, the rich people are also citizens of the country.
Yeah.
So you cannot deprive them of having the free education just because they have the means to give their children.
True.
Yeah, I think either way, you can't make everyone to have the same economic status. So whether you take the rich people to the free school or not, the rich will remain rich. And also, I think everybody, if the education is free, every kid should go to a free school if the country can afford it. Because if you start saying that the rich should have a choice, you'll notice that the school that the rich people will take their kids to will definitely become better. Because you look at something like, okay, where I come from, maybe the public school is not completely free, but it's less expensive. And then the private schools are more expensive. So the private schools, the teachers are better than those in the public schools. So you notice that those that come out from public schools in secondary school, they are not so intelligent. And I think it's not their fault. It's not something that they can change. So I think if there's gonna be free education, everybody should go to the free education.
Everyone.
But the thing is, no matter what, there's going to be it's not going to there's not it cannot be that every school will be equal. It really cannot, because in the end what if I'm rich and I want to take my child to a better school? Are you going to stop me from taking my child to that better school because you want me to bring my child to the
But
free
no,
education
it's not
school?
compulsory though. It's just
not
it's
compulsory.
the question is, should it be accessible to everyone, whether rich or poor?
So the thing is, if it's accessible, I would decide. If it is, I mean, it's there, I can do it. But then if I don't want to, it doesn't mean it's not
okay.
there for me. And at the end of the day, I think that it will bring about imbalance in employment. Because if I am an employer, I'll definitely employ someone from the good school, right? And leave the one that didn't go to the good education. So what becomes of those people who didn't go to the high school, the international schools and all those?
At least you got a chance to go to school.
You did get a chance, but at the end of the day, we go to school in order to get a job, right? All the good jobs,
have an occupation.
All the good jobs. I mean, if you are an employer, someone from University of Ghana, someone from some bad university or high school, you are definitely going to go for the good person. All these Harvard students, by the time they get out of school, the job is waiting for them, already recruited by companies. And we are going to compete with them.
I think it should not, the financial status of your parent should not be a way of differentiating which school you get to go to. Because let's say, like for the person's capacity, maybe you can differentiate on whether this person gets to go to medicine or this or engineering or all that. That can be a reason. But then for the person's parents' financial status, it should not be
because they say that education is the equalizing factor, right? Just because my parents don't have money doesn't mean that I cannot be on an equal position as you at the end of the day.
Okay, but also when we talk about equally accessible. Okay, let's say there are different schools, right? And different schools have different standards. Let's say this school wants to take people who are this bright, and this school wants to take people who are this bright. Do you get it? Like different standards of brightness. So how do we do that too?
I think no school wants a dumb person.
I kind of get what she's saying. Like, what she means is that maybe the people who need it the most are the poor people, not the rich people.
True.
Yeah, and then if we just make it like open equally accessible to like everyone, then the rich people, like, they might occupy the spaces for those other people. For those
let's look at it in terms of scholarship.
No, it's free and equally accessible. That means
it's
you
free,
don't
whether you don't.
It doesn't matter the level of,
and it's like it's high. It says high education.
Education meaning that
secondary school. Yeah, so it's not like when you get there they need to
make you pay.
because
it should just be accessible.
You should go to school. They want everyone to be in school.
And
so
also,
you should be in school.
About the standards, I think most government schools in Africa, where we come from, almost all of them are based on like the
standards.
Then there should be a lot of schools that are free then.
Exactly.
Yeah, they shouldn't be limited options.
Okay, imagine
if every school is free, how would they pay the teachers, the water and everything?
You know, that's the reason why. You know what? That's the reason why in government schools people don't have like this
quality.
The quality that we need. Do you understand? Because the teachers will be like, they don't.
I think that's why the question is progressive. In the question, there's a word progressive, not at once. So they have to make it a gradual process where they can better it. So if you say 100 schools in a year, you cannot make the quality of education till that standard. So if it can be 10 and the kids will get the best education, you start with a 10 before you climb up.
Education is like the basic necessity a government is meant to provide to its people. So I feel like as citizens we're paying taxes, right? And we have resources. So education should be free and it should be equally accessible to everyone, both the rich and the poor. That's the duty of the government. That's why we have the government there. So
Okay, so we agreed on it being accessible to everyone, regardless
whether you're
age
rich
or
status.
Thank you, guys. So let's move to the next one. It says, do we have to encourage or intensify fundamental education for individuals who have not received or completed primary school, we are talking about primary school here, do we have to intensify their training? If so, if we've gotten somebody who is a school leaver who couldn't complete primary school, do we intensify their training or whatever informal education?
In my own view, I see those people as special people. Like, primary school is like one of the most important phases of the educational system, right? And these people haven't been through primary school. So I feel like they've lost that foundation, and without that intensity, without like really like putting it in there, right, for them, I don't think they'll be in the same level with those that have completed primary school.
So we are, for these people we are talking about maybe people who are grown. Okay, this is primary education, right? Let's say you don't have primary education. If you don't have primary education, that means you most likely cannot read and write, right? And so maybe these people are people who cannot read and write, but now are grown and are in the society. Okay, so we need to be able to, first of all, encourage them to understand the reason for, understand why we need primary education. Okay, and so maybe a system can be set for them, like maybe adult schooling or what's adult like those night school weekend classes and all those things, like to encourage them to be able to still go through this primary education, right? And also it should be intensified because they need to be able to, like, you know, the whole primary education system is for about 6 years, right? And then these people 6 to 7, okay. And then you want them to be able to have this thing in, I don't know,
shortest possible time,
like maybe 4 to 5 months. And so the intensity of like in comparison to how we learned in high school would be different. Also, they have broader minds by that time, so they can also learn
thinking
faster.
Of their kids and everything.
So should be more intense. We should also encourage them. There are a lot of people who also dropped out of their own will. Let's say maybe they were in school and they thought, primary education I don't want anymore, so they just left. And so we should also encourage them even more, make them understand why they really need primary education, because in the end, if you don't have primary education in the society, you will even be cheated, because if you don't know how to even add 1 plus 1,
basic calculations,
you will go and buy something and they would give you wrong
and it happens.
And it happens, yes. So we need to be able to make people understand that even if you are not good with formal education, for primary education you definitely should have it. And so we encourage them.
So my question is, let's say there is this child who is like 6 years old, at least, if nothing, he or she knows a little bit of life because the child is 6. So this child doesn't want to go to school. Like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want school. I want to maybe sell. I want to like be an apprentice of this lady, maybe a seamstress. I don't want to go to school.
Like, how old is that
Let's
child?
say a 6-year-old child.
6-year-old is still a baby.
Still a baby.
You can't
Okay,
make any
so the
decisions
thing is, her mother or his mother is fed up with this child. Like, I have tried anything.
The child is stubborn.
The child doesn't want to go to school. What do we do to this child, and what should we say to a mother like that? Because, sometimes you get fed up, like, I can't do it anymore. This child, there is no way I'm going to convince this child because their mind is already made up. I'm not going to school. It could be bullying in the school or something else, but we are looking at a child who doesn't want to go to school.
Then the mother can try the homeschooling option, right? Where the child is in the house, and then you bring the education
to the child. Maybe the school is just the issue. The school itself, not the education.
And that wouldn't be free education. What if the mother cannot afford that?
That's homeschooling.
Cannot afford homeschooling. Is it that the mother is not educated or?
No, sometimes you can't afford homeschooling.
Like,
so when we are
let's say a poor woman,
a poor family,
the child doesn't want to go to school. I want to be like you, mommy. I want to start selling this stuff. What are you going to do?
I think first of all, we need to make them understand the fun aspect of education.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, but education has been when we're growing up, they made education look so rigid, so strict, so strict. So we need to make them understand that education can be fun. I think I read a book where they were doing some things with numbers, and the family, the child didn't want to go to school, right? And so they started doing some things with numbers and with coloring and all that. And then the child was asking, what is this? Like, what are you guys doing? And he was like, before you can do this, you actually need to go to school, because in school they'll teach you how to do this coloring, how to do. So you're encouraging the child through the things in the house to make them understand that
I am the mother of that child. You have to go to school.
But the thing is, the
child, you can drop the child.
You are
in the school. The child
is under me.
The child
I think with that
At the age
aspect,
of 6, I don't think that child has any right or
to make that kind of
decision.
But
okay, that's what she's saying.
What you said,
find
Chelsea,
other approaches,
Yeah,
right? In order to let the child want to go to school.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Because
you can use all
Chelsea,
those.
with what you said, I am your mother and I'm taking you to school and you need to go to school. That thing doesn't change the child's mind. You probably might take the child physically to school, but the child will still mentally not
Yeah.
go to school.
Yes.
So I think the idea is to make the child love school, like
Be there and actually
do
be
things
there.
to make the
At
child
first
love
it's so
school.
difficult to actually love school. My young brother never liked to go to school, but my mom talked to the teacher. After they took him to school, they talked to the teacher, told her the situation. Then the teacher actually improved on the things that she used to do in class. Maybe she'll bring sweets, she'll bring things that will actually make him want to go to school as early as possible.
Okay, so we'll move on to the 5th point. Set minimum standards and improve the quality of education. So what minimum standard should be set?
At least everybody should have primary education. At least everybody, no matter where you want to go to, you should have primary education. Then maybe for secondary education, if you want to go to the technical, it's allowed. You want to go to the vocational, it's allowed. Whether you want to continue normal formal education, it's allowed. Yeah, but everybody should at least have primary education, and for secondary can also have the choice of whichever kind of secondary education they should have. But I think for both primary and secondary, this should be the minimum standard for education.
Yeah, I agree with her.
Okay, what I think is that both primary and junior high should be the minimum standard. If the person decides from junior high that he doesn't want to continue, then it's his choice. Because I think the person is grown enough to decide by then.
In my own view, I feel like the minimum standard should be university, because that is where you actually use education to get a job. So I feel like the minimum standard for everyone should be university, if free education should be provided to people. Yeah.
For me, I think it should be senior high school. Because when you say senior high school, it's not just going to be about that formal science. It's going to be the technical and the vocational. They're all going to be senior high school. So for me, I think it's senior high school. At that age, when I decide I want to be a caterer, I think we complete senior high school at the age of 18. You're an adult. You can take the next decision by yourself. So high school should be the minimum standard.
And I just want to add to my point. Like when stereotypically when we talk about education, and when you say someone completed education, what we mean is like the person has gone through university. So I feel like that should be the minimum for like a person.
But I think even after you finish secondary education, for example, what she said about catering, if you want to continue in catering, you will still go to a catering school, though it's not a university, so you still continue. Yes, it's a vocational school in that aspect.
Let me just say tertiary institution.
Okay,
tertiary institution should be the minimum. That's in my own perspective.
Okay, to also say that you said when you go to the tertiary thing, right, that's where you get a job and start getting money. But I don't think in today's world, I don't think you need to go to the university or the tertiary level in order to get a job and make money. Because if we think that way, for example, my mom is always saying, you go to the university, get a white collar job, go to this. There's no room for me to explore. For example, in this current generation, entrepreneurs are becoming the whole thing. So if a child has the high school education, right, read, know everything, and I want to go into business, or I want to do something that does not require me to go to the tertiary education, I think you can still make money and be okay for yourself. So
So I think secondary education or high school is the minimum, what do you call it, level you should get before if you decide not to be in school again. Because the primary education is the basics, right? That is where you learn how to write and read. But when it comes to normal life or real life outside, you would need the secondary education to back you up. With the secondary education, you get to know a whole lot of things, what you are interested in doing, even if you leave school at that moment. But with the primary education, you have no idea. It's just that you can read and write. Then what?
But then the question is, an entrepreneur that finished high school and an entrepreneur that went through the tertiary institution, which is better?
I thought
Like
when
in
you say
your own-
if you use an entrepreneur as an example, none
Mm,
is better
none is
because you
better.
can be a junior high student and then you kill it in that field. There are instances where people do not go to the university. Mark the Facebook guy, he didn't complete the university, right? He went, but he didn't complete it. If you say you need to complete university and get a job, you don't need to go to all these actors, celebrities. Most of them went to high school. That's it. So if you know your field, you don't really need university in order to make money. I mean, people sell food by the roadside after high school and then they still make a living.
Develop the system of schools at all levels and continuously improve the material condition of teaching staff.
I think life is even about progressions. Life is about development. Life is about going forward. And so even in our education system, all the different levels of education, with primary, secondary, tertiary, I think they all need to be developed. They all need to be progressively, like continuously improving them at every level. So I think that's really important. And also the second one was about the materials, right? Yeah, the material condition
of the teaching staff.
Yes, to also, like, even in our system now, like, the teachers can also be developed, go through trainings, go through giving them incentives, things that will make them even want to teach more and more. Yes, and just to encourage them. Yes, so because when the teachers are encouraged to teach, they can even give their best to the students. Yeah.
So I think with the material stuff, I think every teacher should be creative, like especially the primary level. You should be creative. You don't have to always come to class and teach. Some teachers even use music as a form to communicate to the students. I can sit here, watch a whole of series, and I would be able to keep it in mind. You can do something, you can be creative, you can create music. Let's say if you are studying this particular topic and these students are not getting it, you can create something like, let's say, make it in a form of the content in the form of music, so that they can, as they are singing it, they can be able to remember whatever they have studied. So it's not all about you standing there teaching. No, encourage the children in different ways. Giving them toffees, giving them things to to attract them to really be comfortable coming to school in the first place. So they would be there for you to do your work. And then I think there should also be short courses for the teachers every single, let's say, year. The school itself should organize seminars and other short courses where the teachers could learn every new thing, like learn time to time to improve their way of teaching. Yeah, I think it.
They've talked about some very fantastic points about development, right? I also want to add that looking at it in the financial perspective, teachers should be paid well. Like, teachers should be paid well, because when the salaries are low or something like that, motivation is lagged behind. So I feel like financially, teachers should be motivated by making sure that they are paid on time and giving them their salaries.
Even like improvement of the materials, because like some children can get more when they see something. You can't just be writing on the board and drawing stuff and everything. So I think some people are good at visual things. So if the school provides maybe stuff like maybe example in the lab, and everything. People sing stuff like in primary school and maybe even in secondary school. Like example, chemistry. They actually go to maybe they make trips for those things. Like they make trips to go and see what.
Exposure.
Exposure is very good. Exposure. It's really actually nice.
Okay, I also think that it's important to improve the condition of teaching staff, because when the teachers have a poor condition, you make the teachers unhappy. And then when the teachers are unhappy, they will make the students unhappy. And when the students are unhappy, the students are the future of tomorrow. So everyone is losing. So it's really important to make the teachers happy.
Yeah. For me, I think for number one, the school should be a safe place for every kid to go and feel comfortable and all that. And also about the improvement of the teaching materials and things. In Africa, where we are from, I think the syllabus is an issue. At the end of the day, we are taught things that you said that the world is about development, right? But when you look at our syllabus, there's nothing developing about it. We keep on learning the old stuff. We are not given the opportunity to go out there and compete with the rest of the world. So these are things that should be worked on and improved. So that at the end of the day, when I'm from Africa and you're from the States, we can compete for the same position of the job. That's
the infrastructure and a conducive environment should be there also.
All right, so we'll go to the 7th point. Wow. All right, rule out discriminations at all levels of educational systems. Rule out discriminations at all levels of educational systems.
Discriminations in what point? In what sense?
Rich, poor, disabled, all those kind of economic financial.
I think. Okay, sorry. Please let someone answer.
Okay, so I think that it should be ruled out, of course, because we cannot be judged, or we cannot be judged on the basis of not having money, being poor. Or we should just rule out all forms of discrimination. Disabled people should be made comfortable. This is very important. Comfortable in a schooling environment, because I've seen several situations where people with physical disabilities, they are not even ramps, things that are supposed to be made comfortable for them to be in school. So I think
and what you're trying to say is that those maybe, how can I say, those maybe who are blind.
Yes.
You want them to be in the same school.
No, that's not what I mean. For example, if someone has, a walking or a leg disability or something, there are some students who actually have to help this. There should be ramps at least, some physical things that will make their lives easy in school.
I feel like we shouldn't discriminate, right? But ways we can make things better is those special needs students. We can actually put them in special schools, right? Schools for the blind, schools for children with autism, schools for children with different kinds of disabilities, right? So in the sense, now we are not discriminating, but we're making education more diversified, that's the word, diversified, and we're making it equally accessible to everyone.
Guarantee freedom of choice. Should we have the freedom of choice?
Yeah, I think we should have a freedom of choice, because as I was saying, like in high school, I knew that like I would want to read general art, right? But the choices the subject choices that the school had already made, right, was good for me, but it wasn't everything. It was just part of it. Like for example, the courses, the subject, economics, further mathematics, geography, government, history, whatever. But let's say if I was good at four of those subjects and I wasn't good at one, if I had the choice to choose, I could have chosen another one out of the total courses that we have for general art student. I could have chosen one and added to it to make me very comfortable, and like it would be easy for me to study that particular course and pass in extension.
But do you think education is about comfort?
It's not about comfort. At the end of the day, if I'm not happy with what I'm studying, how do you want me to study?
I think with this, okay, freedom of choice is because in the end, for example, what she said before, the fact that with science students we had to study all four physics, math, biology and chemistry. If she wasn't comfortable with chemistry and she said she doesn't want to do it, she would be less advantaged when she comes to do medicine. So in the end, okay, yeah, freedom of choice in education is good in a way, but also there are some times where we need to understand why some barriers have been put. Okay, maybe we weren't allowed to choose the ones you want because maybe the combination will not be leading to a specific thing. Okay, so in the end, yes, freedom of choice. I think that the freedom of choice is very important in education. Maybe in the sense that maybe you can choose to be a lawyer, you can choose to be a journalist, you can choose to do medicine, you can choose to be whatever you want to be, right? Especially without a great influence of parents, because sometimes a lot of people come into medicine without wanting to do medicine just because their parents wants a child who is a doctor, and then they come in and they are not really excelling. Probably they would have excelled if they did business or they did arts, right? And so maybe I think that's the freedom of choice that I think we are talking about here, that we should have. Okay, with the picking of subjects, I think there should be a freedom of choice to an extent.
So if the minimum standard of a country is primary, then primary is compulsory. Then like it's a must. Everybody must go to primary school. Then from secondary, you can start choosing.
And how are you going
Like
to
my country,
compete?
in my country, you can like primary. The minimum room is primary school, like junior high. You can actually be a president.
Junior
Then you
high.
have a junior high.
Yes,
Okay.
you
So
can actually be a president.
What I'm thinking is, if the minimum level is senior high school, right, and you are a primary school leaver, how are you going to compete in the job market having that level? A lot of them are having the high school, junior high school, or senior high school certificate or whatever document that shows that you completed.
So now what you're saying is there shouldn't be freedom of choice.
There should be freedom.
So a certain level.
It is freedom, like the word says, it's freedom. But to you yourself, if you really want to, and if you really want to make it out there, you should assess yourself. Do I really want to make it? Do I really want to be employed? If you want to be employed, you need to meet the quality or the the criteria what you are looking for.
Okay, what of someone who believes that education is not for me?
How old is that person?
There are even some people who
like
are grown up
and
who
they still
think
don't
education
believe.
is not for
At
me.
the end of
I
the
think
day,
it boils
if
down
you're grown
to
up,
then it's your choice.
That's your choice. If you're above 18, actually,
and
that's your
they
choice.
didn't even have primary education.
They didn't have primary education.
Exactly, they think education is just not for me.
That is
I think
what
it boils down to us
it
going
starts
down to
from
people who
time.
have left school, getting them to be able to understand the importance
I
of
think
it.
in the end
education.
you can't force an adult.
Yeah, you
to
can.
do something.
You can't
You
force
can't-
an
you can't
adult,
force
but you
the
can. I
host.
think you can
encourage. Yeah.
You can encourage.
You can't force them, but you can encourage them.
Yeah, alright, so I think
we are done.
we are done.
A wrap.
Thank you.
It's a wrap, everybody.
It's a wrap, everybody.
Go to school.